You're listening to the Business Marketing Show, episode number 53. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher.
Welcome to the Business Marketing Show. I'm your host, Brendan. I'm here with my co-host, Ed. And today we're here to talk to you about e-commerce marketing and e-commerce and online retail marketing blueprint for 2016. How are you today, Ed?
Good, thanks, Brendan. How about yourself, buddy?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
That is good. We've been having some fun with our internet connection today, which is often the way when you go to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. But we have gotten around some issues and we're ready to go. So let's rock and roll. E-commerce, one of Brendan's favourite subjects.
That's true.
And many people out there listening who have e-commerce websites, I'm sure, will benefit from what we have to say today. So we're going to give them a blueprint on e-commerce, as you said. So let's get cracking.
Yeah. So pretty much the way we work directly with clients, I guess. And e-commerce is very different to a traditional small business or bricks and mortar business, a business that has a physical location that people go to. So the strategy is very different. And if you have a physical retail presence and an online store, then really you're going to have to run two strategies side by side, because the strategy to make both of them work from a web and online marketing perspective is quite different. So yeah. I guess we'll run through, we've chunked it down into, I think, 5 different, steps, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So probably, the first step would be to understand your business and the underlying fundamentals of the business. So I guess probably the easiest part of that would be determining whether your product is kind of a problem solution product, where people have a problem and your product is a solution to it. Or in other words, whether there's active demand for the product, or is it more of a luxury product where there's no active demand for it, but potentially your market's very interested in it if you get in front of them. And the reason why that's kind of the first step is because depending on whether there's active demand, active demand, we're talking about people searching for the product online, typing things into Google. So depending on whether there's active demand or not, will really determine what the strategy is for driving traffic to the website and really, the overall online marketing strategy for the business.
Yeah, okay. So understanding your business, so how do people go about working through that process? So what is it that they need to do?
Well, I guess they probably know it instinctually that, is the product a solution to a problem, or is it a nice to have product, I guess. So it really is a case of, are people going to be Googling for that particular product or a solution to a particular problem? I think it's pretty straightforward, but really important to know at the outset, because some tools aren't going to work. Like if there's nobody searching for the product, then something like Adwords or SEO is not really going to generate a return. Whereas something like maybe Facebook ads or marketing on Instagram and Pinterest might be a much better channel. So, for example, types of products that would fall into, I guess, the realm of not active demand or people not actively searching in Google would be things like skincare products, like moisturizers and things like that. People typically don't go to Google and search for buy moisturizer online. It doesn't really work like that. They see a brand, they try a product, they like it. There's particular elements around the brand or brand story that resonate with them. The product's organic, or, it includes coconut oil or something along those lines. But, that's a good example. Things like skincare, cosmetics, they're not really a problem solution business or product in the sense that people are actively looking in Google for it.
Yeah, okay. And also whether their product is a commodity item, I suppose, or whether it's something unique. I mean, they could have a product that they've created that solves a problem that is being searched on a lot, that is different to what everyone else has. I suppose that's that's a good selling opportunity if they do have something that's unique. If, as opposed to trying to sell a product that is technically you would classify as a commodity because they can get it anywhere, and people are just price comparison shopping to see who has the best price or the best value associated with the product. So,
and the strategy is also going to be different depending on whether it's your product you're selling. You might have, it's your brand and your products, and you're selling on, you have a website for the product, and you might have 2 or 3 products or variations of it, and you're selling directly on there, or whether you're just, like an online music store, like Didgeridoo Breath, online Didgeridoo store selling products made by other people. So that's also going to determine what strategy to use, or whether particular tactics or tools are going to work well or not. Other things to really be clear on is whether your target market is your country or whether it's worldwide. So really that decision needs to be made from the outset. Are you shipping worldwide or are you shipping locally? And this might seem like an obvious one, but it's not really, because I come across a lot of new-ish e-commerce businesses that aren't really clear on whether they're focused solely on Australia or they're shipping overseas. They kind of will ship overseas, but if people ask for it, it's a bit wishy-washy. But I think it's important that you're absolutely clear whether are you worldwide shipping or are you shipping locally, because that has downstream effects on, again, the marketing, budgets required, even down to the domain name. If you want to ship worldwide and you're based in Australia, then that's going to be, you're probably going to want a .com domain name versus a .com.au domain name. So being clear on these things at the outset, they do have downstream effects that you're probably not aware of once you start down this path, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
And probably the other one as well is, which we talk about pretty regularly, is the price of the product, whether it's a high-price product or a low-price product. And the complexity of the sale. So is the sale complex, and do they need to be educated before they buy? Or is it a case of they hit the website, they see the product, they know that's exactly what they want, they hit the buy button and check out? So that's also going to determine whether you're going to need people on the phone. So particularly if it's a high dollar item, like once you get above $500 or $1,000, people will probably want to talk to you on the phone, or they're going to have questions about the product. So you're going to need a different strategy in terms of sales there and customer service. So these are all important things to be aware of, because a $50 product, someone's happy to search it on Google, find you, poke around, maybe look at the reviews or testimonials on your business or the product, and then they're confident that if they check out and buy this product, if worst case scenario happens, then they lose $50. But it's $1,000. It's a very different scenario. People are going to want to know more about you. They might come back to the website multiple times. They're going to have questions before they come in.
Okay, so we'll move on to number 2 now, Brendan, which is, we have on the list here, using the right tech. So we're talking about what sort of technology tools we need to work with and get the most happening from. So what do we got?
Well, this is probably the big one in the e-commerce space is the CMS. And the reason why the CMS is of extra importance for an e-commerce business is that it actually forms, it's not just the thing that drives the website. It actually is the business system as well. So the business runs on top of it effectively. So orders and customers and everything else that's going on is managed through that CMS typically.
And we'll clarify, just for those who don't know what a CMS is, because we just take it for granted. We've got lots of internal speak that we have in the tech world and marketing world, and online is particularly bad. We have more acronyms than you can poke a stick at. So CMS stands for Content Management System.
Correct.
Sorry, Brendan.
Let me lose my train of thought, Ed. No. Right. So the CMS is also a business system. So if you have the wrong CMS, then the mechanics, the internal mechanics, forget about the website stuff, the internal mechanics of the business are going to struggle, particularly if you end up doing a lot of orders. That said, for bigger businesses, you can get bolt-on platforms that will take that bit out, and they do it a lot better, and they do it at scale. But there's some other reasons as well why the CMS is really important. And the other big one, take the design aside, is the marketing features that platform supports. So the most up-to-date platforms, and our current platform of choice for e-commerce is Shopify. So the most current platforms will support things like Google Shopping, price feeds. They'll support abandoned cart email systems, and they have an app store environment. So if you want functionality or extra features or a particular way to do shipping or whatever it is, or a particular payment gateway, the leading CMSs will typically support it. Whereas if you have something that is, it's an old CMS, it's not going to support those new standards that might have features missing that mean your SEO isn't as good or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when in terms of CMS, because we talk about WordPress all the time, which is a CMS, and it's our preferred platform for general business websites and things like that. But when it comes to e-commerce, we're talking about using things like Shopify. So at what point should someone consider moving away from WordPress if they're having some sort of e-commerce platform that they want to use into Shopify? Is there is it a number of products, or is it just wise to forget about WordPress from the very beginning and structure everything moving forward that you're going to expand and that you want to be on the right platform?
It's a good question. I think it depends on the type of e-commerce business you have. So Shopify can be bolted into WordPress. So if you just really have, there's a difference between being an online store and being a company that builds products. So if you're a company that builds products and you have 3 or 4 products and that's it, then potentially you could have a WordPress site and then Shopify integrated under that. But again, it really depends on how many orders you're doing and the size of the business. There are some solutions we've talked about before. WooCommerce for WordPress is probably the leading e-commerce WordPress plugin. But then you run up against all sorts of issues there where if it needs 20 different plugins to give you all the features you want, then if you update one, the other ones break. You're still maintaining it yourself. You've got security implications to take into account because you need to manage your own encryption, and you're also storing customer details and maybe even payment details in the site. So
yeah, absolutely. And then so for all that hassle, then you think, okay, well, if I go for the basic Shopify account, which is like $25, $30 a month, something like that, then it's a bit of a no-brainer, really, because that is taken. All of those things you just mentioned are taken care of by Shopify.
Yeah. And Shopify is actually, its feature set is quite similar to WordPress these days. It has a very good theme store or template library where you can buy themes and templates for it. It's got a good app environment. WordPress has a lot of plugins. Shopify has a lot of apps. It's reliable. It's fast. They have 24-hour support. The support's a big one as well, I think, with the e-commerce, which a lot of people don't take into account because an e-commerce business runs 24/7. So it's very different to a regular website in that, a typical small business website will have peaks and troughs in the traffic. If you're serving a local area, then at 3 a.m. in the morning, there's probably not going to be anybody on your site, most likely. Whereas an e-commerce business that's serving, say, global market, there's going to be people on there 24/7. So,
very, very good point. You want to be able to contact someone if something breaks or something's not working. You want to be able to get in touch with someone ASAP because time is money, and if it's broken, you're not getting orders. So, very good point. Cool.
Yeah. So I think the CMS is probably the major decision in terms of technology stack, and then there's other ones that are important as well, like email marketing platform. Probably if you're starting off, Mailchimp is probably a good place to start because it's a free tool. It's very easy to use and you can DIY. And then on the advanced end of e-commerce email marketing, there's tools like Klaviyo, which are really good, but they're quite pricey if you're just starting out. Then you've got email hosting like Google Apps or Office 365 for email hosting. And we've talked about that in the past, that even more so, email is mission critical in today's business environment, but even more so in an e-commerce business because it's probably, in terms of customer communication, it's probably the channel that's going to get used the most, even more than the telephone. And then on top of that, you probably would be wise, once you have some momentum, to have some sort of support ticket system, tracking system where you track customer inquiries through a ticket system rather than just having them hit an inbox, because once you get more than 3 or 4 customer inquiries a day, it's going to be very hard to keep track of them, and they're absolutely going to get lost. So
something like Zendesk is what you're referring to there, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So for one of the businesses I'm involved with, we have a Zendesk account that costs $20 a year, and that's all it needs. It can support 3 customer service staff. So
$20 a year.
$20 a year. So
really, is that all it is for Zendesk?
It costs, I think it's $20 a year for up to 3 agents, customer service agents. But then once you go over that limit, it gets a lot more pricey. So we have a Zendesk account for the search engine shop as well. That's how we run our jobs out of, and I think we're spending $200 a month on it, $250 a month. So
okay, but sorry, didn't you say $20 a year?
$20 a year for the base level
okay, right. That seems really, really cheap. I don't think there's not very many things you can get for $20 a year, $20 a month, but $20 a year. So that's good.
I think that's effectively like their free version. So
they're free. Okay.
They charge you something.
Yeah. So
we've had that
good.
That $20 a month account, $20 a year account for I think 4 years now. So and it's worked great, and there's been thousands of customer service requests through it, and it's a lot better than having the customer service requests go through the inbox.
Yeah, and it's a simple bolt-on plugin for things like WordPress, correct? And also for Shopify, I believe.
Yeah, effectively the emails just get the customers' email or support mailbox, or they fill out a form on the website, and it goes straight into the ticket system. Yeah. So there's a bit of a learning curve around it, because there's like automations you can set up. Like it will automatically respond to customer inquiries and give them the answers to the most common requests, like password resets, things about pricing, whether you take credit card or PayPal or whatever. So there is a little bit of a learning curve around most ticket systems, but it still will cut out a lot of work, and it will just make handling the customer facing stuff a lot easier.
Awesome. So digging a little bit deeper with the email, because a lot of people get these confused in terms of your email system that you mentioned, using something like Google Apps or Office 365 or whatever you're using for your just sort of day-to-day communication, which is very different to what we're talking about in terms of Mailchimp, because Mailchimp is an email marketing platform where you can have things set up like email autoresponders, so a sequence of emails that get sent out to someone when they sign up for something. They may download a free report or an ebook, and it gets them in the funnel. So I think quite often when I talk to clients, they haven't been able to distinguish the difference between the two. They think they're all the same thing, but they're actually 2 separate services. So maybe you want to just expand on that a little bit.
Well, I guess one's the email hosting, right? It's what your everyday email account runs off.
Yep. So that would be ed@onlineimpact.com.au or Brendan at thesearchengineshop.com.
Yep, exactly.
So that's our business day-to-day email. So it could be accounts at or whatever. So that's what we're using those for.
Yep. Email in and out.
Yep.
And then something like Mailchimp is an email marketing tool. So you can send – so at the base level, like probably the email marketing technique most people are familiar with is to have a newsletter list. So a regular newsletter that goes out, and people can subscribe to it on your website or unsubscribe from the emails directly. But in the e-commerce space, email marketing is one of the most powerful marketing channels. So with email marketing tools, and Mailchimp doesn't necessarily do this, but you can do things like abandoned cart emails where people come to the checkout, fill up a cart but don't check out. You can automatically email them and ask them what's up, why didn't they check out, did they need help? That's one type of email marketing. You can do other things like you've said, like have a sequence, like a buyer's guide sequence or something like that.
Yeah.
So typically these things are done out of an email marketing tool, and as a starting point, Mailchimp would be the cheapest and easiest way to get in, particularly for someone who's DIYing or doing a lot of this stuff themselves.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Anything else with those additional tech tools? I mean, there's really literally dozens of other things we could talk about, but they're the core things to do with using the right tech. So knowing what CMS you need to use moving forward, and having a bit of foresight as to whether you're going to be selling a lot of products or just a few, which could determine what you choose as a platform.
Yep.
So great. Okay. Next on the list, we're going to move along to number 3, which is traffic.
Yeah, getting visitors to the site.
Yes, because all of these things that we spoke about before are lovely. And if you have a really great looking website and it's got all the bells and whistles and everything set up and you've got your email marketing campaigns there, and if you don't have anyone come to the website, then it's all been a waste of time. So you've got to have traffic. Traffic is the lifeblood of your business. And that is one of the main areas that we spend a lot of our time in, is getting traffic, targeted traffic that converts. And we're going to talk about conversions later. But so there's so many different ways of getting traffic, but we're going to touch on probably some of the most popular ones at the moment. And people will get different results from using each of these tools. So it's one size does not fit all. So you've got to experiment and test things before you know. So probably one of the biggest sources of traffic that most people are familiar with over the last 10 to 15 years is Google. So we'll touch on Google and talk about the different ways we can extract traffic from the Google search platform. So take it away, buddy.
Well, so in this section, we kind of go back to what we talked about in point one is understanding your business and the customer psychology. So are people actively searching for your products or solutions that your products provide? So I guess we can split the traffic section kind of into two. So the first three probably, or the first bunch of traffic sources would be search engines.
Yes.
So a lot of people think Google, that's the only search engine, but that's actually wrong. So, well, in an e-commerce environment, that's not true. So in the e-commerce space, there would be three main places people go to buy stuff. That would be Google or search for stuff. So probably Google, Amazon, and eBay. So when someone's going to buy something online, those are probably the three places they are likely going to search.
Yep.
So then to capture the traffic from Google, then we have three different tools inside Google. We've got Google Adwords, the regular search ads.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Google Shopping ads, so the specific type of AdWords that are related to e-commerce, where you see the picture of the product, short description and a price in the Google search results. And then you've got search engine optimization. So those would be the three in the Google stack, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Anything I'm missing there?
No. Well, no, technically not. I mean, you've got Google Places, but that's a separate thing. That sort of would come under SEO, wouldn't it, Sam?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So let's talk about Google AdWords first, because that is paid advertising. So people have the option to go down two paths in terms of organic or free listings on Google or paid. Now, a lot of people don't want to pay for advertising, and I think that's not a good attitude to have, because your competitors are getting traffic that you could potentially be getting if you were in that space. Now, I realize everyone has a budget that they have to work from, so you've got to start somewhere, but you need to test this and find out whether the traffic from somewhere like AdWords is converting. So,
and the good thing about e-commerce is, there's no gray area. It's if your Google Analytics is configured correctly, you actually see the sales data in there, and then can tie it back to a traffic source. So I think with this one, I mean, we have clients who are spending $5 or $10 a month easily on AdWords and Google Shopping, and we regularly have the conversation that they want to cut the spend. We pull up the numbers, and it's like, well, you're spending $5,000 and it's generating 50. So are you making profit off that? You tell me. And it always works out that they are. So I think it's very hard to get past the I'm spending money and I don't want to spend money kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, it's not the right way to think about it. You have to look at it always on a return on investment, and you will not know if you get a return on your investment until you start testing and measuring your ads. So if you don't go down the path of trying this out, you're never going to know. And you could be leaving a whole ton of money on the table because you were not willing to experiment with some paid advertising. So as I said before, your competition is doing it, and they're just loving it. The less people who want to come in with that attitude of, I don't want to spend any money on advertising, well, they're going, great, more for us. So if you stay out of the game, you got zero chance of making any money from that platform. Whereas if you start testing it on a small scale. You don't have to go all in. You can start testing very specific areas or just one product and try that and get good at doing that and get good at mastering the AdWords skills. Or if you're outsourcing it to someone else, make sure they're doing it properly and gauge and measure what's working. So AdWords, there's several components to it, and the first and most popular one that have sort of started back in 14 years ago was Google AdWords for search. So everyone's probably familiar with that. They do a search on Google, they see the ads in the top left-hand corner or on the right-hand side. So that's where a lot of people spend their initial foray into AdWords is in that area. Then the other area we have is the display network, where people are using advertising banners to appear on other websites that display ads from Google. Mm-hmm. So they're probably definitely the most popular. And then we sort of touch on the remarketing side of things, which is getting your message back in front of people who have already visited your site, and their browser gets cookied, and then they see ads from you through the Google display network. So with your experience with Google AdWords, do you find you get more traction with the search side of Google AdWords or with the display network? How are you finding it with your clients?
It depends. So search, usually we'll start with search, but it depends on like the display network. So I guess if you split it into two, the search is about capturing demand.
Yeah.
The display network's about generating awareness and creating demand. So, and it can be used to capture demand, but it's typically the display network pretty much like traditional print ads, right? That's probably the best way to explain it.
Yeah, very well said. They are completely two different ways of getting in front of a customer.
Yep. So, I mean, the search one's easy. That's getting in the search results. So people are obviously looking for something if they're searching, and then the display is your ads will appear contextually. So it's like reading the paper and seeing an ad next to whatever an article is. So when the display network is working well, your ads only appear in context. So you might be reading about a particular product, and then there's an ad alongside it for that product or that service or whatever it is. So that's typically how the GDN works. So it really depends on what type of product it is as to whether one is going to be better than the other, I think.
Yeah, and again, you got to test that out. And we find we're starting to get better traction with the display network because we do get a bit of a wider spread. The good thing with the display network is unless if you're doing it pay-per-click in terms of you only pay when someone clicks on one of your ads, the costs for that are typically a lot lower than the cost per click for the search result, Google AdWords. So we're finding it quite often it's about 10 times cheaper on average. So I don't know whether it does vary, but as a rule of thumb, it's usually about 10% of the cost of a search click. So, and the good thing is it's creating an awareness, as you said before. So people are seeing your product and your brand out there. Even if they don't click on the ads, there's still some side benefit to that. But the good thing is if they read the banner, and these can be various shapes and sizes that appear, and we've all seen them. Everyone's had some experience with this of as a user. Once they click on it, that's the only time you start paying for that click. Yep. So that's a good thing. You're not paying. Sorry, you're not being charged until you actually get a visitor coming to the site.
Yeah. Probably before we finish off on GDN, the other one is you can use the Google Display Network to show ads alongside YouTube videos. So that's one of the most powerful. For us, when like across the board, that's probably one of the most powerful ways to use it. So displaying, they'll either appear, you've probably seen it on a YouTube video, the ads that appear at the bottom that are kind of annoying in a way, but they do work.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cost is a lot lower. And that's something we're starting to get into a lot more now is the YouTube advertising side of things. And we've actually got someone coming on the podcast in a few weeks' time to talk about that who has a lot of experience with that. So we'll be digging deeper into that. So that's the Google AdWords side of things. Now, what about SEO?
Well, this could be hours of a podcast by itself.
Couldn't they all? We don't have hours. Right. Trim it down to 5 minutes, Brendan. I know
5
it's
minutes.
hard.
All right. Probably. Okay. So for if we had a new e-commerce client come to us and wanted to get traffic, they were a newish business, we'd say do Google Shopping or Google product listing ads first because it's cheap, it's easy, you turn it on and the ads start working.
Yep.
From an SEO perspective, and this also rolls into everything else, it rolls into AdWords and conversion stuff as well. Probably my number one SEO tip for a new e-commerce business would be on the product pages have a decent amount of text. So, a decent product description, a couple of paragraphs if you can do it. And also include, and there are ways to sneakily do this using templates or import and export with with spreadsheets or CSVs, but include the payment information. So how people pay for products and how they check out and how that works, and the shipping information on the product page. So what that will do is fatten out the product page, because often product descriptions are really short. So having the payment info, how you can pay for it, credit card, PayPal, whatever, and the shipping info will fatten it out. So the page will naturally rank higher because generally pages with more text rank higher. So that would be probably the biggest tip. And also having, if there's a video for the product, have the video embedded on that page. And then from there, the category pages, same deal. Have a blurb on the category pages that explains what the product is, why they should buy from you. Again, brief shipping info. So generally, more text is better, video is better. The more you can put on the page is better. And generally, that is one of the quickest ways to start ranking and selling and getting more traffic for an e-commerce business, because having more text makes the AdWords work better and makes the PLAs work better. If people hit a product page and they can get all the information they need to know on that page and just hit the add to cart button, that's a win. Because often, if you're searching for a product and you land on a website and it has a description about the product, you still don't know what the shipping cost is. You don't know what payment methods they support. So actually having everything they need to know before buying the product on the page is an excellent strategy in terms of boosting conversions and eliminating customer service questions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that Amazon has one-click purchase, and they patented that years and years ago. And the reason is to simplify and streamline the buying experience. Because I remember, I've been buying stuff off Amazon since they first started, really, from way back in 96 or 97. And, every time you went to buy something back then, you had to go and enter in your credit card details, and it was a bit of palaver back and forth. And then it got more streamlined. And now, as long as you're logged into your account, you go, oh, look, that book looks really good, or that whatever it is looks great. Click, done. That's it. So, if you can simplify the buying process as much as possible for the person who's coming to the site, you've got a much greater chance of them actually spending money with you. If the more roadblocks, like I've been to some sites and I think, do they actually want me to spend my money? Are they purposefully putting all these things in my way so that I'm not going to get my credit card out and buy something? It feels that way, doesn't it, sometimes? So,
yeah, we've talked about this before, that one strategy that works excellently for us, and we're really pushing hard on it this year, is we've talked about removing friction from the sales process. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But it's obvious, but a lot of people still don't do it. But also taking the first step of any sales process and putting it online. So in a physical, real-world sale at a retail shop, what would happen? So making the website mimic that will make it sell better or make it convert better. So obvious one is the common questions people ask before buying. Have that on the page, turn it into a buyer's guide. If possible, a video's buyer guide that's professionally produced is one of the number one other ways that we can boost conversion on an e-commerce website. But, take that first step online and you'll see sales skyrocket. So many e-commerce websites, you hit a product page and they have like a one-line description for the product, no specs, no information, one photo maybe that's of average quality and low resolution. It's crazy.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. So we sort of, I went ahead of what we were talking about there and went into sort of used an Amazon example. So Amazon.
Well, the other two main search engine traffic sources would be eBay. and Amazon. So people go there to shop, and people don't go to eBay to read articles. They go there to buy stuff. Same with Amazon. Amazon, they probably look at the reviews and other things as well, but those would be the other two traffic sources. Let's talk about eBay first, because that's a bit more global. So basically selling your products and services on eBay. They'll take a 10% cut, I think it is. It differs depending on volume and your account, but it's a ready-made traffic source of the people who are looking to purchase. So if you have an existing e-commerce store, or if you're a retail store looking to get online, that's a really easy way to test out online, even without building your own online store. So I would suggest for any established e-commerce business, it's worth testing eBay to see if it works. And they also have a lot of add-ons. They have something called the Global Shipping Program, where they have you don't necessarily have to offer international shipping. eBay can do it for you. So you click a button and eBay will work out all the charges and everything else. And then when the product sells, they'll give you an address of one of their warehouses to ship it to, and then they handle the offshore shipping. So there are a whole bunch of things that eBay does that are quite unique, that depending on what your business is, may or may not work for you, but it's worth testing, right?
Definitely. I mean, far out. I think of the money I spend on eBay. It's a lot. And it's one of those places that's sort of my default place that I go to. And quite often I will go and look at other websites that are not, that don't have products listed on eBay, just to do a sort of comparison shop. And 9 times out of 10, what I can get on eBay is the same or cheaper. And because my system's all set up, and again, it's sort of relatively, a few clicks and I'm done, and all my, shipping details are all in there. So I can buy things on eBay really quickly, and it's just done. It's very similar to Amazon, removed a lot of that friction.
Yep. eBay for me is kind of it's like a big department store, right? You can go to one spot, you can search all sorts of different products, and it's most likely that they're going to have it. And it's going to may not be the absolute bargain basement cheapest, but it's going to be a good price. They've got buyer and seller protection, so if something goes wrong, you're not going to be screwed over. So
and look, it depends on where you are in the world as to what you can get from Amazon. Like we're in Australia, we don't have quite the setup that Amazon has in the US. So we're sort of limited with what we're buying within amazon.com.au as an example. For those who are listening in other parts of the world, it is different here in Australia, and that'll change, and it is getting better. But typically, a lot of the things we want to get, we would have to try and get from Amazon in America, and quite often they don't ship them to Australia. So eBay is a little bit more flexible with that, because when we're logged into the store, we're getting access to pretty much everything, and a lot of it's free shipping. So so it's going to be different, and I tend to use eBay more for buying things, physical products, and Amazon is still for me buying books or audio books or Kindle stuff. So So it really just depends on where you are in the world, what products you have, as to which of these platforms will be beneficial to you. So you just got to weigh that up.
Typically, eBay is more like price shoppers, department store, whereas Amazon's, I think, a bit more like a high-end department store. But so as a business owner, e-commerce business owner, it's worth testing eBay. Most popular e-commerce platforms integrate directly with the eBay, so it's pretty easy to publish your products there once you've got your eBay account set up. And it's another good quality traffic source. You're going to be paying them 10% of whatever you're selling as their fee or whatever, but if you sell more, then it works, right? It's just a numbers game. Like it's take the emotion out of it, test it, run it for 3 or 6 months, see how it goes, and make a decision from there, rather than deciding before even trying it.
You've got to look at anything like that where you're paying 10% or whatever the percentage is, as you're giving away part of the profits that you would never have had in the first place. So you've got to factor it in. Again, it's an attitude thing. It's like the spending money on advertising. It's part of the cost of doing business. So you're going to be giving away that percentage, and you should be doing it happily, because eBay takes care with a lot of the infrastructure, same as Amazon. So they remove a lot of the blocks of getting to the customer that you would typically have if you were purely just running an e-commerce website. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, it may not be for you, it may not be for your marketplace, but it's very rare that you're not going to have some sort of product that will not fit within the Amazon or eBay models. It's going to you'd have to be selling something that's banned from there, like drugs or something that you want to sell on the black market on the internet rather than on. Brendan can help you with that. He's really good. He's done all the black market stuff.
Thanks.
No, he hasn't. No, he's clean. He's clean as a whistle. Our Brendan.
Yep.
All right. So what have we got next, buddy?
Well, we kind of talk about Amazon. So there's two parts to Amazon. One is Amazon, where you list your products on there, and then something sells, and then you ship it from wherever you are, your store, your warehouse. And then probably the more powerful one is called Amazon FBA, or Fulfillment by Amazon, where you actually ship the product to Amazon's warehouse. It sits on their product category, just like any of the other products that they actually sell directly. Someone hits the buy button and checks out. Amazon take care of everything. They take care of the shipping, the warehousing, all the customer-facing stuff. There are some nuances there around refunds and returns and things like that. But particularly if you're an e-commerce business outside the UK or the US, that can actually be a good way to break into those markets by shipping a bunch of product there, because it's cheap. It's cheap to ship a box or a pallet of stuff rather than a whole bunch of individual airbags and stuff like that to, say, US customers. So, yeah,
absolutely. So I think that's a very, very good point. There is those differences in terms of what you're going to be doing in terms of Amazon providing the products yourself. I've got a lot of people I know who are using the FBA and having great success with it. And then that may be what you want to cover or what you want to do there. So,
yep. So I think that kind of covers our three search engine sources, right? So Google, Amazon, and eBay. Pretty straightforward, I guess.
Yep, perfect. So now we've got next on the list here?
We've got email marketing next. And I put this down as a traffic source because, well, it's not really going to work as a brand new traffic source. It's not really going to get you, well, it won't get you brand new customers because they already have to be in your list. But
it's return traffic.
So it's probably, in terms of a traffic source, it's an amazing traffic source in terms of getting people back to the website.
Yeah.
So it needs to be on the list in traffic, I think.
Definitely. And I think it's underrated completely. You speak to anyone who has an effective email marketing list, and it's basically like turning on a tap. Now you've got to know when to turn on the tap and how to turn on the tap, so you just don't have the tap turned on all the time and annoy people and flood them with crap. So you've got to make sure you use it wisely. But it's one of those tools that if you do use it correctly, you can be very, very particular about when you send out these marketing messages. And we see it with clients. It's so easy to look on Google Analytics and see when they did a marketing mail out, because they get a blip in traffic and conversions. That's that's usually quite noticeable on the traffic flow. So
double or triple traffic for 2 or 3 days around the mail out.
Yeah.
Usually, like for the ones using it successfully, we see 10 to 30% of revenue is generated by email marketing, which is pretty substantial.
Oh, absolutely. That if you looked at your whole year of profit, that's probably makes up a high percentage of it. So
Yep. So, and if you're not doing email marketing right now, you think this is a channel that really has no real cost. You might have to spend $50 or $100 a month on an email tool if you have a big list, but if you could bump your revenue by 10% just by, it's a little bit of work, but it's not a huge amount of work, an hour or two a month to do an email newsletter, really. Yeah. That's a pretty substantial win.
Yeah, absolutely. And, people are spending so much time focusing on platforms that they don't control, like Facebook and Instagram, etc. They're all great traffic generators, but you have so much more control over what you do with email marketing, and you own the list. Like no one can take the list off you. So even if you for some reason, if your email marketing system went bankrupt or shut down or something, as long as you had a copy of, a CSV file of all your people, you can then just take that across to another email marketing platform. So you control that list, whereas you don't control your Facebook account or any of these other social media platforms. They control it. We've said this before like 1,000 times. Don't rely completely on your social media platforms to generate your business.
Yep.
So use it as a traffic tool. That's what it's there for. It's an awareness and traffic tool.
Yep. Which then brings us into kind of the second group of traffic sources, which is really the socials. And well, we kind of talked about it already, Google Display Network. So again, if your customers are not going to be actively searching for you, then you're going to need to generate that awareness and get in front of them. So Facebook ads, Google Display Network, Pinterest ads, Instagram ads, maybe Twitter as well, depending on what market you're in. So
yeah, I always say don't discount any social media platform, but don't feel you need to use all of the social media platforms, because you literally could go insane trying to do that. Yep. And it comes down to what we've said time and time again. You use the tool that your end user or your target market is using. And if that's where they're spending their time, if they're on Instagram or if they're on Facebook, and that's where you need to be. So go where they are. Use the tool that they're using. So then at least you know, okay, well, I have to use these 3 tools. Now, you may not necessarily have to use them all at the same time if you're just getting started.
Yep.
Just do step by step, because if you try and implement a whole strategy around Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram all at once, it'll end up spending a lot of time. And you want to be able to see what's working and then really roll out a platform and get it working well, and then you can step into the others once you've had success with the first one. But that's my personal advice.
Yeah, I agree. And just it comes back to that. The very first point is understanding your business and the psychology of your customers. If they're going to be on Facebook, great. But if they're not, if you're a plumbing business, advertising on Facebook is probably not going to be the highest generating traffic source. Google AdWords is. So it's just being realistic. When anyone says you have to be on Facebook or you have to be on Instagram, that's probably a time to check it. And that would ring alarm bells for me, because there's no one solution for every business. It's it's going to be different for each one. So you're right. Stop not trying to do everything at once. Test a channel, but be aware that if your customers aren't on there, or if they aren't on there in a buying capacity, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, look, the plumber example is a classic scratch the itch scenario that typically something like Google is the best platform to use, because people aren't just going on Facebook going, gee, my pipe is pissing out water at the moment, and they're on Facebook. Can anyone please tell me a good plumber to use or recommend? No, they're going, oh shit, so they're on Google searching for emergency plumber or whatever, and they want it sorted now. So Facebook is not really going to be the platform for that. So you need to know your marketplace.
Yep. Okay, I think that's enough for traffic, right? We've covered a lot there.
As you said, we could technically go for hours on traffic, and probably an episode will dig really deep into some more of those. But we do have specific ones we've done before on AdWords, etc. So we'll have some links to the previous podcasts soon.
Yep, cool. So our next point, which I think is point number 4.
Its point is conversion. Conversion rate. Getting more of the people to do what you want them to do, and that is in e-commerce buy products, right? Yes.
So we kind of have a list here. We'll just, I guess you can get really technical with the conversion stuff. This is going to be like the broad strokes. You should be doing this. There's really no debate at all about it. I think it's all pretty straightforward stuff. So should we just run through the list top to bottom?
Go for it.
All right. So first one is having 2 payment methods. So probably for most businesses, that would be having PayPal as one payment method, and then just a regular credit card payment gateway, something like Stripe as the second method. And there's a few reasons for this. A lot of stores, brand new stores, will have a tendency to just offer PayPal, which is not necessarily a good idea, because some people don't like PayPal. PayPal's checkout can be confusing, and is really built around getting people to sign up for PayPal accounts as opposed to taking your money.
Yeah.
and sometimes gateways break. So we commonly see people having problems checking out with PayPal. So something like, depending on the client, it could be the numbers could be as big as 1 in 20 or 30 people have a major problem checking out with PayPal. So having that second payment method automatically gives them a second option to try if something goes wrong, or their internet flakes out, or they can't remember their PayPal password, or there's some sort of PayPal issue. So 2 payment methods, pretty simple. And also sometimes payment gateways go down. So if you only have one, that gateway goes down, you can't take the money. So
yeah, absolutely. Have options. So a good tip.
Stripe and PayPal would be the starting point, I'd say.
Yeah, that's probably the point of least resistance compared to getting a full merchant account set up through your bank, which is a lot more hoops to jump through. But Stripe, it's amazingly easy to set up. Any ones we've set up, they typically, you might spend 5-10 minutes setting up, connect it to your bank account, and you're pretty much done. It gets approved, and off you go. So it's a lot more options now compared to like 10 years ago. You only had PayPal or getting a merchant account set up. Yeah. So
okay.
That's good.
Next one, we've kind of already talked about having the payment info and shipping info on your product pages, and any other information that people need to know, or answers to questions they're asking before they'll hit the buy button or complete the checkout. I think that's hugely overlooked and very powerful and very easy to do. It would be a small project to implement that, even across a big website with hundreds or thousands of products.
Yeah. Cool.
Simple.
And make the shopping cart as simple as possible, which is, we mentioned earlier, again, it's keeping things simple.
Yep.
So
don't ask for information you don't need to know. Don't ask for a fax number if you're never going to fax them, for example.
Yeah.
Don't force them to sign up for accounts. Allowing them to check out as a guest. I see that this one's quite common with older e-commerce systems or non-mainstream e-commerce CMSs, where the customer is forced to go through that sign up for an account process before they can check out, which is crazy because we actually want them to check out. We don't really care about them signing up for an account. That's kind of secondary to making the sale.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I've had that happen many times through, and then I've gone through to go, oh God, I've got to fill this in, but I actually want the product. And then I go to fill in the sign up form, and then something on that breaks. So again, it's another roadblock in the way of you getting the product.
Probably my biggest hack for finding improvements in e-commerce websites is just going through the checkout. So you'll find that most e-commerce business owners, if they're not doing it on behalf of customers, they haven't been through their own checkout in a long, long time. So if you're listening to this, go through your own checkout and see what it looks like, see how clunky it is, see if there's things that are just weird or broken or just shouldn't be there. Like the other one is asking. Quite often you'll get the "where did you find us?" "hear about us from" questions, and then a big text box underneath. I'm like, kind of, a lot of people aren't using that data, so just turn it off, and you can get that stuff out of analytics as well. So
yeah. Too true. Get some friends to test it as well. Get a bunch of people that will give you honest feedback, just to go through and do a dummy run up to the point of putting in their credit card, and just seeing how easy it is for them, and if they find anything. So,
okay, next one, abandoned cart emails, which we've talked about already. But basically, someone fills up a cart, shopping cart, they get halfway through the checkout process or don't check out. The abandoned cart email system will automatically follow them up and ask them what's going on, if they need help or whatever. And if you buy a lot of stuff online, you may have seen this. It's usually done poorly, though, where the email actually doesn't ask them if they need help. Instead, it just blasts them with a discount code, which is really stupid.
That may not have, but that, some people will go, oh, good, and they'll take that up. But as you say, they still don't know why they abandoned the shopping cart. And that potentially fixed could save a whole lot of future issues of people abandoning the shopping cart from getting that data.
Yep. Common things you'll see that we see replies to those emails Probably the most common one is there was an issue with PayPal. The other one is couldn't find the shipping info, or the shipping was too much. But the throwing the discounts out is a crazy thing to do and really bad, and you shouldn't do that. If you're going to do it, should definitely not be the first email. It would be, the analogy I use in our workshops to explain it is, it's like going to a physical retail store, picking up products off the shelf, looking around and walking out, and being halfway down the street and the salesperson runs out, starts running after you and just starts screaming at you that they'll give you 10% off and, take it 20% off, 30% off.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the thing is, if you send an email through asking what the issue was and how you can be of service to fix it, and they respond to you, then you can say, thanks very much, really appreciate your feedback, sorry for the inconvenience, and now we'll give you a 10% discount. You've at least got some information from them, and then there's a reward for them taking the time to fill in that information and send it back to you. So that's my way of looking at it. So as an end user, that makes more sense. Even not even looking at it from a business point of view, but just someone who's had issues with a site. I'm more interested in getting it solved than actually having just a 10% coupon thrown at me.
Yep. Cool.
Alrighty.
Live chats.
Live chat. Yep. One of our favourite subjects, live chat.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for a retail business to have a live chat box on the site. So if someone's needing a question answered that they want to know something about a product, they can just type in and get the answer straight away. Another roadblock has been dropped. So
yeah. Again, coming back to the real world analogy, when you walk into a retail store, when someone asks you, if there's a shop attendant who asks you, what can I help you with? Then you're much more likely to buy than, how many times you walked into a shop, you get ignored and you just walk out. Like, it's the live chat. Having the live chat with proactive chat turned on is the same as walking into a retail store and having a shop attendant that's friendly and helpful with a big smile on their face, asking what they can help you with.
Yeah. And that's what it is. That's how you should look at it. And obviously, you've got to have staff attending to that chat when you've got it switched on, which you can manipulate within the chat software. If there's no one there to deal with it and it's out of office hours or out of business hours, then you can make some adjustments. But that's what you've got to weigh up. If it's an e-commerce site, it's operating 24 hours a day. So that is how do you come across, or how do you deal with that challenge? If they're dealing with an e-commerce site, the person could be there at midnight. You don't necessarily have staff there. How do you deal with that with clients?
Well, it depends on the business, right? You've got to test the live chat first and see. I think you need to do, if you're going to do live chat, you need to trial it for 30 days and test it like it's a marketing channel, right? Because live chat, sure, the software is cheap or free or $10 a month, but there's actually real resources you've got to give to that, which the resources are people, which aren't cheap. So I think giving it a 30-day trial or a 60-day trial during business hours when it's convenient, or when it doesn't even have to be all day, right? If you have a customer service person who's available 3 hours a day, you can test it for that window and see how it works. Like, we have tested it on some businesses and it just doesn't work because customers get on there and want to chat. Like, they're not there to really buy. They're browsing and just chatting and chewing up a whole bunch of time, and it actually works better turning it off. So I think a test first and then see what happens. The worst case scenario is you get some data and some intelligence around what customers are asking for, problems with the website, some sort of insight that can help you improve the site or change something or add an FAQ or something or other that will fix that problem permanently. That's a huge long-term win. So test it, watch out for those wins, I think. And in some cases, if you're running a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business where you're shipping internationally, it might be worth paying for someone to man it 24/7. There are services that do it. You can get people in the opposite time zone to you to do it. So, it's not unrealistic to think that it could be manned 24/7. Yep,
good point. So again, you've got to test it and find out what's working for you, and then you can adapt from there and expand on how you use it. So.
Yeah, I mean, we tried it for the search engine shop business, and we found that new customers. There was two things we found. There was a lot of Indian outsourced SEO firms asking questions on it, which obviously are not our target market. And then we found existing customers were using it for support questions that we would be better off having handled in our ticket system. So from a new customer marketing perspective, it wasn't really successful, I guess, exercise running it. So it was a failed test, but at least we tested it and we gave it a good shot. So
yeah, good point.
Yep.
Google remarketing and retargeting, which we touched on earlier.
Yep.
So this is in terms of conversion. You get so many people, probably 90+% people who visit your website who don't take an action and who disappear. That's pretty common across, generalizing, of course, but pretty common across most websites. So with remarketing and retargeting, which is a relatively new technology in terms of the last probably 5 years or so, it hasn't been used very much before that. It enables you to get people to come back to the site. And quite often there's many reasons people come to your site and leave. It could be you don't have the right product. It could be they got interrupted or they had a phone call or something happened and then they sort of forgot about the website. It disrupted their train of thought. So having something that pops back up in front of them when they're on Facebook or when they're browsing other websites to remind them about that product or service or website, you can potentially get someone to come back that would have completely forgotten to. So,
yep. But you can also use it for customers. Don't forget that either. That I think there's an oversight. If you have someone that comes to your site and buys something, there might be something they might be interested in buying something in 6 months' time. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Using remarketing, you can run ads in front of those people for a new product or a new promo, whatever it is, a Christmas shopping discount, something or other.
Yeah. The example I use quite often is, say, for example, you're a business that sells printers. Someone's bought a printer off you. Then what do they typically need sometime after, within the next month or so, is printer cartridges. So you can actually have some banner ads promoting even down to the product that they bought. If you wanted to get that specific, you could say, get your Epson blah, blah, blah cartridges here, and get them back to the site to get the cartridges from you. So that's that's another reference to what you're talking to.
Yep. Cool.
So yeah, remarketing, retargeting, basically it's the same thing, just termed differently, but very, very important and very powerful to use.
Yep. Okay, so second last one on the list, a buyer's guide with videos.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this can be it. Again, coming back to the concept of taking the first step of the sales process online. All those common questions that people ask that you're probably getting asked the same 10 or 15 things over and over again. I wouldn't suggest this for a brand new store. It's probably one for an established store that at least has been up and running for several months, but having short, quick answer videos that are professionally done on the website, that important that they're professionally done as well. If they're amateurish, it might hurt the brand or your brand perception, but this can be a huge win, huge time saver. It's effectively like being there 24/7. Like you asked the live chat question, this is a good answer to it, or a good kind of stopgap that, having pictures of people or videos of people explaining answers to questions can be a really powerful marketing tool.
Yeah. And we're all conditioned to watch videos over, 70 years of television watching, or however long TV's been around for, and YouTube, etc. So people are conditioned to watch videos. And if they're short, sharp, and to the point, you'll keep their attention. Unless it's a training video that people sort of expect that they're going to have to, give up 30 minutes or an hour of their time to watch, make sure the videos you have are under a couple of minutes. That's probably the most that I would say to have them on there for.
Yep. Agreed. So the last one's photography.
Often an afterthought, weirdly enough, about all the things we've spoken about, and you think of, typically products in terms of e-commerce, that's one of the main things that people are looking at is the photograph and the quality of the photo. So you've got to have good quality, relevant photography on your website.
Yep. And also another powerful one in e-commerce is having photos of you and your staff, like real people, because a lot of people forget that it's not just the products people are buying; they're buying you or your business or whatever it is, the unique edge that your business provides. So having photos of the smiling, happy people in the team can make a huge difference as well. So, I mean, all things being equal, if you've got two e-commerce websites and one looks like it's run by real people and the other one has no people photos at all, the one with the people is going to win, right? So
yeah, 9 times out of 10, it'll do it. Or all other things being equal, that can often be something that makes the difference. And look, we could say that about all of the little points that we've made here and there. Often it can be the small details that make the big difference.
Yep.
So, but we don't ever classify photography as a small detail. It's a very important detail.
So we'll link to the episode we did with Matt from Photography Project in the show notes, which goes into way more detail about the why photography, how to do it, all sorts of stuff about it.
Yeah, very, very popular episode, that one. So, and number 5, the last point is building trust, relationship, and your brand.
Yep.
So that all ties in with several of the other things we spoke about before. But so what have we got to cover on that one?
Well, this is kind of a less of a tangible one, I think, is the brand, how you're perceived in the marketplace, because people will pay more for brands. I mean, you look at high ticket items, look at Ferrari or Lamborghini, like people are largely paying for the brand or the brand perception there. Or expensive handbags or whatever it is. So building, it's not something you can do overnight, but building a brand can be a key way to stand out amongst competition, and people will pay more for the brand if it stands for what they believe in as well. So I think more of a long-term thing, but shouldn't be ignored. I think there is a tendency for people who really want to win online to do things that are short-sighted or short-term, which cannibalize the business long-term, the business and brand long-term. One key one or common one that drives me nuts is people who use, or businesses that use email marketing, and they email you every single day, or they'll send you multiple emails per day, which is just horrible. Like you're just being hassled, and it might actually get more sales in the short term, but long-term that's damaging the brand. Like, people are not going to resonate with your brand. You're hassling them. So
unless the only time I would say that is an exception is if people are signing up for like a daily news tip or something, then they're expecting to get something daily. But if you're emailing something to someone and they have that already in their mind, that they know that's what they're signing up for, and what you're sending them is consistently a value email, so it's something they can read and get benefit from, then people don't mind. And sometimes if they're like me, they may not read them every day. Sometimes I'll go back through with some of the email newsletters that I get sent from people, and I'll read like a week's worth, and I'll skim through and go, oh, that's good. No, I'll read that one. But I don't necessarily read them every day. But the thing is, those people are forefront in my mind. But what you're referring to, Brendan, is sending annoying emails and pictures all the time and trying to get people to buy things and not providing any value, and your ratio is messed up. You don't
it's exactly like the used car salesman approach, where you kind of hassle or bully someone into buying. So, I mean, that's classic way of cannibalizing your brand. But really, the brand is whatever you stand for. It's the perception people have of you when you're, it's what people say about your business when you're not in the room, right? So
exactly.
It's important to know what your brand is, to be aware of, the type of relationship you're building with the customers, and building a relationship with the customers. Like, a lot of businesses just don't do that. And email marketing, like we've talked about, is one of the best ways to build a relationship when it's done properly. Social media as well, but to a lesser degree, because it's less powerful than it used to be, because the reach is less unless you're paying for ads. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, is your business more than just shipping boxes? Like, are you just a box mover, or are you a business that actually stands for something that customers will buy from you, even though you're more expensive than other people? So it's not a very tangible one, and it's difficult for people to get a grasp on sometimes. But I think it's a long-term thinking, what the business stands for, and it's not, when we talk about brand, it's not logos. It's more what the business stands for, and the broader. Sure, the design and imagery are part of that, and they're there to support the brand, not to be the brand, I guess, as well. So,
very true indeed. Okay, well, anything else to add before we finish up on
I think that's quite a
those
lot.
items? Yep.
I think if someone can get through that list, get a lot of those ticked off, they're doing pretty well.
They'll be doing better than most. So good luck with your endeavours. We're always contactable in the contact box below. Feel free to drop us a line, or you can contact us on our emails, which we'll have listed here as well. So keep moving, keep taking one step at a time, but try and have a plan before you go through and do any of this, because if you actually sit down and think, okay, these are the things I need to have in place, and put a plan together of how you're going to action them, then it won't be as overwhelming. And just do. And
I mean, this could easily be 12 months worth of work, right? This is
easily, and that's why people just need to be a little bit easier on themselves and not sort of get so uptight about it, because there's a lot of work to do. And if you take it step by step, like we have shown, then it'll be easier to consume and easier to get implemented, and you won't feel so overwhelmed. So, and we've put it in the sequence that makes most sense to us, and that's what we work with with our clients. We don't go, right, we've got to work on getting people back to your website, and you don't have a website. It's like, well, okay, what's the point of doing that? Yeah. So, everything is really logical when you break it down in the step-by-step process that we've put here as a blueprint. So, So thanks for your time, Brendan, and thank you for listening. And we will see you on, or speak to you on, the next episode. We won't see you. If we could see you, that'd be really creepy. So we'll speak to you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to The Business Marketing Show. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com, on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher.